Right then, welcome back to Study Hall. We're all about diving deep into those topics that make you think, I should probably know more about that. And today, oh boy, are we in for a treat. Today we're going to tackle something we all just click agree to without, well, a second thought. Instagram's terms of service.
Yeah, you know that wall of text you scroll past just to get to the filters and the double taps?
We've all been there.
We've braved that legalese jungle for you, and trust me, there are some fascinating beasties lurking in there.
It's a bit like an archaeological dig, isn't it? We're digging into the foundations of our digital lives. We can see the trade-offs we make for the convenience and connection these platforms offer. Our data, our content, and quite a bit of control.
Exactly. It's not just a scroll and forget situation. There are real implications here. And right off the bat, we stumbled upon something that made us go, hang on a minute.
Oh, I know what you're going to say. You see, it's not just Instagram you're agreeing to, is it? It's Meta Platforms, Inc., the parent company behind Facebook, WhatsApp, the whole shebang. I mean, it's like popping around for tea with your mate and suddenly realizing their entire extended family's crammed in the living room, too.
Oh, absolutely. And that's crucial because it highlights the interconnected nature of all their services. Our data isn't just sitting nicely in some Instagram silo. It can be shared and used across Meta's entire ecosystem. And that has significant implications, for privacy and targeted advertising.
Ah, yes, those ads that seem to follow you around the internet like a lost puppy. No coincidence there. Meta's got a very detailed map of your digital travels. Now, the terms do say they use your data to personalize your experience, suggesting accounts you might like, content that might tickle your fancy. They even throw in those buzzwords like cutting-edge technologies and AI.
Yes, they are using sophisticated tools to analyze our behavior and preferences, creating that curated experience tailored just for us. Convenient, maybe. But is the trade-off worth it? Are we comfortable with this level of data-driven puppetry? It's a question for each of us to ponder, really.
It is. It is. Okay, here's another head scratcher. We all love sharing those perfectly filtered holiday pics or hilarious pet videos.
Oh,
right?
no, absolutely.
Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because when you agree to these terms, you give Instagram a non-exclusive, royalty-free, transferable, sub-licensable worldwide license to use your content. I mean, come on.
That's quite a mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah.
In simple terms, they can use, adapt, and distribute your photos and videos for, well, pretty much anything they fancy.
Yeah.
Let's say you capture this brilliant shot of your dog doing something absolutely adorable. They could slap that image on a billboard advertising dog biscuits and wouldn't owe you a single penny.
So while you're busy chasing likes, they're potentially building a whole marketing campaign off your creativity.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But what about things we're not allowed to do? Prepare yourself. The list of restrictions is longer than a queue for the chippy on a Friday night.
They're quite explicit about prohibiting things like creating fake accounts or scraping data, reverse engineering the app, even using a similar username without permission.
Blimey.
They're fiercely protective of their intellectual property. They really want to maintain a tight grip on that platform's environment.
It's their playground, and they make the rules. And if you're thinking of pulling a digital Houdini, disappearing from Instagram, well, deleting your account isn't as simple as it sounds. Your content can linger in their backups for ages. It's like a digital echo.
They can retain your data for up to 90 days, potentially longer for, say, legal reasons or investigations. So even if you hit that delete button, your digital ghost might be hanging around longer than you'd expect.
Yeah.
Raises some interesting questions about the right to be forgotten online, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Right. So you've packed your bags, you've said your goodbyes, but your digital suitcase is stuck in baggage claim. And if you thought you could just take him to court over any of this, think again. The terms very clearly state that disputes will be settled through individual arbitration, not class action lawsuits.
Meaning you waive your right to a jury trial and you agree to a process that can be, well, less transparent and potentially favor the company.
So they're essentially saying, we'll handle disagreements on our terms in our chosen arena. It's quite a power dynamic, isn't it?
It is, and it's a theme we see repeated throughout these terms.
Right. Well, we've only just scratched the surface of this digital contract we all signed without actually reading. But don't worry, there's more to uncover. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll delve deeper into the world of data usage, advertising, and user commitments.
It's a fascinating journey into the fine print that shapes our online experiences.
Right then. Back to our deep dive into the depths of Instagram's terms of service. We've already uncovered some eyebrow-raising bits, but now we're going spelunking into the data caves, the heart of how these platforms really work.
And this is where the trade-off we make for those double taps and filters becomes even more apparent. Remember that personalized experience they keep touting?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that includes serving you ads tailored to your interests, and they're not shy about using your data to do it.
It's like they've got a team of digital detectives piecing together your online profile. They're analyzing everything, the accounts you follow, the posts you like, even how long you linger on a certain picture of, say, a particularly adorable kitten.
All that data feeds into their advertising machine, creating these detailed audience segments that advertisers can target with laser precision. They're not just guessing anymore. They're using your digital footprint to predict your desires before you even know them yourself.
So that time I Googled best cake recipes, and suddenly my feed is flooded with baking supplies and sugary treats. That's not just a coincidence, is it?
Not at all. That's the power of data-driven advertising in action. And it's not limited to just Instagram, is it?
Right.
We're dealing with Meta, which means your data can be used to target you across their entire network.
Right. It's like a spider web connecting all their platforms. So even if I'm browsing Facebook or checking WhatsApp, those cake ads can still follow me around.
Precisely. They've created an ecosystem where your data fuels their advertising engine, and the reach extends far beyond just a single app.
Hang on a minute. Don't they say they don't actually sell your data to advertisers?
That's correct. They provide the tools and insights for advertisers to target specific audiences, but they don't directly hand over your personal information. Subtle distinction, but an important one.
Okay, so they're more like a matchmaking service,
Yeah.
setting up advertisers with their ideal customers.
That's a good analogy. They provide the platform, the tools, and the data to connect those two sides. And they also give advertisers feedback on how well their ads are performing.
So it's a closed-loop system, constantly being refined and optimized based on our behavior. Blimey. It's a bit like a giant digital experiment, and we're the unwitting lab rats.
In a sense, yes. It raises important questions about transparency and control in this digital age. How much insight do we actually have into how our data is being used? And how much agency do we have to influence those processes?
It feels a bit like we're playing a game where we don't know all the rules, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But enough about how they use our data. What about us as users? What commitments do we make in this digital contract?
Well, firstly, there's the age restriction. You need to be at least 13 years old to join the party. Pretty standard across most social media platforms. But beyond that, they outline a set of restrictions aimed at creating a safe and open environment for everyone.
Right, they're quite specific about the things you can't do. No impersonating others, no spreading misinformation, no promoting violence or illegal activities. It's like a digital code of conduct, a set of house rules for the online community.
They also emphasize the need for accurate and truthful information when creating an account. No fake profiles or catfishing allowed.
Right, they want to maintain some semblance of authenticity, even in the curated world of social media. But then they get into these vague, sweeping statements that make you wonder, what does that even mean? Like, you can't interfere with the intended operation of Instagram.
It's a bit of a catch-all clause, isn't it? Designed to cover any potential mischief. They want to prevent things like hacking, spreading malware, anything that disrupts their carefully controlled ecosystem.
So no digital shenanigans allowed.
Right.
They also have a whole section about unauthorized ways to access information or create accounts. No bots, no automated scripts, no trying to game the system.
Right. They want to ensure that all interactions on that platform are coming from, well, real, genuine humans. They're constantly battling against those fake accounts and attempts to manipulate their algorithms.
It's an ongoing arms race, isn't it? Between the tech giants and those trying to outsmart them. And speaking of control, did you know they explicitly forbid buying, selling, or trading accounts?
Fascinating, isn't it? They're trying to prevent a marketplace where influence can be bought and sold like some commodity. They want to maintain the illusion, at least, that follower accounts and popularity are earned organically, not artificially inflated.
It's all about protecting the integrity of the platform. This perception that what you see is real, even if we all know it's a carefully curated version of reality.
Exactly. And that brings us to an interesting point about intellectual property. We've already talked about how Instagram gets a license to use your content, but they're also fiercely protective of their own intellectual property rights.
Right, you can't modify their app, translate it, or try to reverse engineer their code. It's like they're saying, You can play in our sandbox, but don't try to dismantle the toys.
Common clause in software licenses. A way to protect their proprietary technology, prevent others from copying or distributing it without permission. They've invested heavily in building their platform, and they want to safeguard their investment.
Makes sense from a business perspective. But it does raise questions about user agency and control, doesn't it? Where's the line between protecting intellectual property and stifling innovation or user creativity?
That's a complex debate, one that's playing out across the tech landscape. But for now, the message is clear. Instagram holds the reins, and they're not afraid to wield them.
Well, we ventured deep into the data caves, and we've seen how Instagram balances user commitments with its own business interests. But there's still more to uncover. Next time, we'll explore the thorny issues of content removal, account deletion, and what happens when you and Instagram have a disagreement.
We'll delve into the mechanisms of control, the limits of user agency, and the complexities of navigating this ever-evolving digital terrain.
Welcome back to Study Hall, dear listeners. We're in the final stretch of our exploration of Instagram's terms of service, and things are about to get a bit confrontational.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happens when you and Instagram, well, have a disagreement, like a proper falling out?
Imagine you're having a row with your neighbor, but instead of knocking on their door, you have to send a strongly worded letter to their lawyer in California.
Right, because as we've discovered, these terms have a distinctly Californian flavor to them, don't they? And if things escalate beyond a simple complaint, well, you can forget about taking them to court.
Exactly. The terms mandate that almost all disputes will be settled through individual arbitration.
Right.
No jury, no judge in a powdered wig, just a neutral arbitrator in a presumably less glamorous meeting room.
So it's a bit like settling things over a cuppa, except the cuppa's in California and the other person's brought their solicitor.
And you're bound by whatever the arbitrator decides, with limited grounds for appeal.
So you're trading the pomp and ceremony of the courtroom for a more private, controlled setting.
A setting that some might argue tilts the playing field, shall we say, in favor of the company.
Right, because let's be honest, most of us don't have a team of lawyers on retainer, do we?
Precisely. And that brings us to another interesting point. These terms aren't static. They can change at any time, and it's our responsibility to stay informed.
Blimey, so even if we, meticulously read through all these terms today, they could be different tomorrow. It's like trying to read a book while someone keeps ripping out pages and replacing them with new ones.
A constantly evolving digital contract, shaping the boundaries of our online lives.
And if those boundaries are breached, well, Instagram has a whole section on content removal and account suspension.
They can remove any content or disable accounts that violate their terms or policies,
Right.
including content deemed, say, harmful, illegal, or infringing on intellectual property rights.
So if you step out of line, they can show you the digital door.
And even if you delete your account voluntarily, your digital ghost might linger for up to 90 days while they purge your data from their systems and backups. It's like moving out of a flat, but your landlord keeps some of your stuff just in case.
A bit unsettling, isn't it? This whole idea that our digital footprints can persist even when we actively try to erase them.
It raises those important questions about data ownership, the right to be forgotten online, and the increasing complexity of our relationship with these platforms.
Well, there you have it, listeners. We've scaled the legal walls, we've navigated the data labyrinth, and we've emerged from the fine print jungle. Slightly frazzled, perhaps, but hopefully wiser.
We've seen how Instagram, or rather Meta, exerts control over our digital experiences, how our data fuels their business model, and the trade-offs we make for the convenience and connection these platforms offer.
The takeaway. It's not just about pretty filters and witty captions, is it? There's a whole ecosystem at play here, and understanding the rules of the game, well, it's crucial.
So next time you're about to click agree without reading, maybe pause for a moment, and just consider the implications. Your data, your content, your digital self, they're all part of the equation.
Wise words indeed. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to make a cuppa and ponder the existential implications of all this. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Now remember, knowledge is power, even in the digital age.